All right, we've got our last bit put together. Let's get it all set back up and we'll get this ready to go. So grab your Leyden jars that we took off recently. Oh, that's why they fell over. I left the discharge things on them. We'll move those discharge spheres. All right, let's get the Leyden jars back on and we'll be able to do some troubleshooting. Make sure you're not scraping the aluminum as you're doing this. Oop. Go. There you go. Get this wire in the trench. I'm going to turn these so that they are actually working out right. This looks like it's fitting on. That looks like it's fitting on. Good. And use my tape to cover the hole back up, or the trench back up. Ta-da. And let's get this show on the road. Let's test this guy out. So this is what your Wimshurst machine should look like. I'm going to put my discharge spheres back on, and I'm going to bend them a little closer to each other so that they're actually touching, or not touching, so that they're actually near each other. We want them near, but not touching. Okay, and then we'll test this out and do a little bit of not debugging. I guess troubleshooting if something doesn't work. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to twist this, and you should see some sparking. And you'll notice that I do not. So one thing you can do is try spinning it the other way. But you should certainly notice that as you spin this, there's a smell. There's an ozone-y smell. This ozone-y smell is the static breaking down the oxygen in the air and making it into ozone. But you'll notice I'm still not spinning. As you're spinning, you should feel a lot of resistance. I'm not feeling any resistance, and what that means is I'm not building up a charge, or it's immediately discharging. So that tells me I probably want to check to make sure that my brushes are actually touching. So make sure that there is aluminum foil on aluminum foil contact. There we go. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's adjust these brushes as well. Yeah, I'm wondering if this brush isn't too big. I think it might be. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm actually going to wrap it around a little better. So troubleshooting is half of the engineering process. Let's take our tape off. Get this on. Now I'm going to, probably can't see this very well. I'm going to fold this on a little better. And then tape it down. Oh, I think I see what the issue is. Alright, so what I'm seeing with this brush down here is that it's shooting out too far from the edge, and so it's not actually making good contact with the aluminum. So what I can do is I can move this up a little more. There we go. And now I should make better contact with the aluminum with that. Alright, let's try and twist again. One way. Oh, I'm feeling resistance, but no sparking. You can touch it to test. So I'm going to go the other way. Oh, the other way I'm not feeling any resistance. So I'm seeing, are there any places where things are not touching well? I'm thinking this brush down here is not touching very well. Oops, starting to feel resistance. And I'm hearing the pop of the shock. You can touch them to test. All right, so if you're still not getting a spark across, check to, or get your discharge spheres a little close together, because these aren't making an enormous arc. And I'm going to turn off my lights. Right. Should see or at least hear, a little bit of sparking between two. And as you move them farther away, the sparking should be less frequent but bigger. There we go. If you spin them faster, the sparking will be a little more consistent. and maybe even a little bit more bright. But keep in mind your belts that we're using to generate this are rubber bands, and you might snap a rubber band if you're not careful. If I move them slightly farther apart, it should again take a little longer, and we'll get even bigger sparks. See how big a spark we can get. Oops. All right, and I'm feeling like I'm getting a lot of resistance. Ooh, there was a big one. Come on, let's get that spark. All right, I'm gonna touch this. Whew. It's a bit of a bite. If you, so the farther apart they are, the less often they're discharging, so the more static you're building up, which means that you will get a bigger zap if you touch them if they're farther apart. So let's move them as far apart so that they're not going to discharge to each other at all. This is my last experiment with this. I'm going to twist it until I feel too much resistance. Ooh, and I'm starting to slide in there. I'm going to touch it, and that's going to be as big a spark as these guys can create. So I hope you had fun making this Wimshurst machine. I'll make a video showing the things it's actually doing. Ooh, notice my crank is, I was twisting too hard. My crank is starting to skip. That means I need to glue it in. If you notice that, then go ahead and do that. Another thing you can do is if you really trust your rubber bands, you could get a drill set up to this and see how fast you can get it. See if you can get some really big arcs. But there you go. That is your Wimshurst machine. Enjoy.